Welcome to this mini movement session using the phenomenal Bowspring method. And I am Paris. I will be your guide for this journey. And I'm also the founder of Intelligent Alignment Movement Health, or I Am Health for a little shorter version. This is Benny, my co-pilot, and no doubt he'll be taking a nap while we move. And before we begin to move, I'll just share a quick breakdown of what the Bowspring is. The Bowspring is an alignment movement that's based on the natural curves of the spine and the natural curves of the body. We're naturally so curvilicious. Visualize a spine in your mind's eye and you can see that it's wavy. There's natural places where it's moving in and there's natural places where it's moving out. And so we're orienting our movement and our posture around these natural curves of the spine. The Bowspring is a dynamic, open postural system. So we open and elongate the belly and the neck, lift the ribs, root the hips, and then begin to engage and tone the back of our body, which allows our butt to lift and the glutes to engage, so the lower back, it doesn't have to do the work that the glutes are supposed to do. Oftentimes, we're walking around in our bodies where the bigger muscle groups are engaging and they're over-engaging because some of the smaller muscle groups are not engaging and somebody has to do their work. So it's been the larger muscle groups or other muscle groups that have picked up that slack, and as a result has created an imbalanced muscle tone throughout the body that results in pain, stiffness, and tightness, and just feeling heavy in our body. So we renegotiate the balance of muscles and so that every muscle can show up to do its work that it was designed to do. So that's asking the muscles that have been overworking to not work as much and the muscles that have been underworking to wake up and join the party. This postural movement, as I had mentioned, it's dynamic. So we move inside of the postures in order to support a relaxation response in our body. I elaborate way more about the system of the Bowspring and how it can serve your life in my online course, Your Brilliant Body, and in my online membership. I encourage you to check both of them out. In this mini movement session, go ahead and grab a yoga mat, or if you don't have a yoga mat, no worries. And please dress in clothes that you can easily move in. Are you ready to try it out? Let's get going. We'll start today's mini movement session in a standing position. Please join me there. Step your feet about hip-width distance apart with your toes pointing forward and a small little bend in your knee. Please take your hands to your ribs and just feel how round your ribs really are. They're in a shape of a sphere. Go ahead and relax your hands on the sides of your ribs with your fingers in the front plane of your body and the thumbs in the back plane. Close your eyes with a soft little bend into your knees. Take 3 breaths, moving your breath wide into your ribs so your ribs push into your hands. It's like you're filling a balloon. Ensure to fill the back ribs just as you fill the front ribs, so the back and the front are inflating simultaneously. And if you're not quite getting this yet, that's okay. That's a journey of practice, consistently. But here, that's just what our intention is. So the sides of the ribs go wide. On your next inhalation, lift your hands from your ribs and give yourself a great big hug. Wrap your arms around your shoulders and relax your elbows down. And with a soft little bend into your knees, go ahead and arc the ribs to the left. Fill through the back of the body, lift your ribs, and then arc a little bit more. Both of the side bodies are elongating. The back of your heart is filling. The sides of your ribs are expanding. Bend your knees and sit your hips back into an imaginary chair. Lift the ribs and arc to the left. Do this 2 more times. Lift back to center. Switch out the cross of your arms. Back of the heart is filling because that's the thoracic spine mounding. Sides of the ribs expand. Lift your ribs and arc to the right. Bend your knees and sit your hips back rather than down. Lift the ribs and arc over your right shoulder. Do this 3 more times. Inhale, lift your ribs to center. Lower your hands to your side. We want the sides of the ribs to stay full, back of the heart to stay full, while also the front of the heart opens. And we can think of a sun shining in the center of the ribs, extending its rays equally in all directions. Lift the ribs, and on your next inhalation, soft little bend into your knees. Shift the weight to the fronts of your feet so you're lighter through your heels, and lift your arms. Cross your right wrist over your left, and the arms are in the front plane of the body. Bend your knees and sit your hips back, and then begin to arc the ribs up and over to the left as the right arm presses into the left and the left pushes into the right. Just a little bit to give a little bit of resistance to help open the right side body and expand your right ribs. Take 3 pulses. Shifting the weight out of your out of your heels and more into your paws. Inhale, lift, switch it out. Bend your knees, sit your hips back, and arc to the right. 3 pulses. Lifting your ribs and then arcing to the right. Rooting your hips back. Inhale, lift, and then lower. Step your feet wide. Lower your hands to your thighs. Shift the weight into the paws of your feet. And widen your butt behind you. The arms are straight and you're lifting the chest, but now relax your belly. Take 3 figure 8s in each direction, shining your butt behind you, using your breath to fill your ribs and move your ribs away from your hips. Opposite direction. Come to center. Push your knees into your hands and widen your butt behind you. Shift the weight out of your heels and more into your paws. Bend your knees and keep your sitting bones widening as you keep bending your knees, and then lower your hands to the ground. If you have a block, please grab a block or come to a coffee table or a chair to elevate your ribs. And we're gonna open the hamstrings here in this wide stance. Bend your knees, but keep lifting your butt. Extend your knees and lift your butt. Hover the heels only a hair width distance, so it's not very far from the ground. And then we lift the ribs, so the ribs aren't just dropping back to the legs, but we're more so lifting the ribs so we're long through the spine, tractioning out the vertebrae. Big deep breath. Notice that I'm not dropping my butt through each bend and extend. I don't look like this. We don't want to be in a C curve. We want to be in our natural double S curve. On your exhalation, step your prop aside and lower to an all fours position on your mat, on your hands and your knees. Step your hands a little wider than your shoulders and more in front of your shoulders. Knees are hip width distance apart. Widen your butt towards the sky by pushing the knees down and wide, and you'll feel your outer glutes begin to mound. Push the floor away to stay full and bright through the back of the heart. Open your belly as you soften your lower back and then shift your weight into your left leg. Bicycle pedal here. As you take these bicycle pedals, keep the leg rotating in the front plane of the body so it doesn't really go that far behind us. Not here, but more so here. Lift the bottom of your butt towards the sky as you stay full through the back of the ribs. Lift your chin out of your throat, taking your gaze about a foot ahead of you. Long, slow, deep breath in through the nose, here for 5. Hover your right knee next to your left knee. Lift your butt towards the sky. Flex your feet and soften your toes back. Open your right leg and step your right foot to align with the center of your left shin. Position your right foot at a diagonal and then lift your butt towards the sky again. Sit your hips back without dropping your butt. Pull your ribs forward. As you pulse, just take your internal awareness to the natural curves of your spine and notice if you're moving inside of that shape, that wavy shape. For instance, if I were to drop my butt when I go back, then I'm rounding a part of my spine that isn't naturally rounded. So I want to be in its natural curve. The lower back, it's a more hollowed energy. And then exhale, lift your right leg, lower your foot and your knee. Then shift your weight into your right leg. Flex both of your feet, soften your toes back. Bicycle pedal here. Keeping the rotations in the front plane of the body. Push your ribs away from the earth. Lift your chin out of your throat, taking your gaze a couple feet in front of you. Here for 5, 3. Hover your left knee next to your right. Lift your butt towards the sky. Push your ribs away from the earth. Open your left leg and step your left foot to align with the center of your right shin, positioning your left foot at a diagonal. Hover your left heel. Lift your butt towards the sky. Sit back. Pull forward. Move inside of the healing double S curve of the spine, so we're not rounding the butt and shortening the belly. We're doing the exact opposite. Here for 3, 2, and 1. Shift right, lift left, lower your foot and your knee. Go ahead and wag your tail for a moment. Step your knees a little bit closer together. Push the tops of the feet down and forward. Shift left and hover your right leg. Now arc your left ear behind your left shoulder and begin to transition your right hand into what we call a dome hand. All of the fingertips touch to the ground, but there's a bend through all of your finger joints, like you're cupping a grapefruit. Push your right knee forward, but lift your butt. Take wide and narrow pulses here, long through the spine, open through your belly, lifting the hips, filling the heart. Guide your next breath in through your nose all the way down into moving your ribs wide. Here for 5, 2, and 1. Step your right foot. Let's take another humble cat. Step your left foot to the top or the center of your left shin. This time, we're going to arc the left ear behind the left shoulder and then begin to lift your right arm, folding your fingers in, arc over your left shoulder, reach your right ribs high. Pulse it here for 5. Now, notice if weight is just dumping through your left arm, bring a micro bend into your left elbow. Push down through all of your 5 left fingertips. And lower the right hand, lift the right leg, lower your foot and your knee, wag your tail. Let's take it to the other side. Knees are stepped a little bit closer than hips. Shift your weight into the right leg, hover your left leg next to your right. Flex both of your feet, but soften your toes back. Bottom of the butt rises. Wide and narrow pulses with your butt shining towards the sky. If If you want to arc your right ear behind your right shoulder, taking your gaze diagonally to the right, do that, and then begin to lift your left hand into a dome hand. We're light through the fingertips. The ribs and the hips, they can hold us in such profound ways that not a lot of weight needs to dump into our joints. Pushing the knee forward, broadening the butt up here for 5, 3, and 1. Humble cat. Step the left foot to align with the center or the upper right shin. But if you are rounding your back like this, then you're going too far forward. So step your foot back, position it at a diagonal. Small little micro bend into your right shoulder as you begin to lift the ribs and arc to the right. Lift your left ribs towards the sky. Three, 2, and 1. Lower the left hand, the left foot, and the knee. Sit back on a block or your heels. Or you can take a moment in a chair, and wherever it is that you are, please pull out the flesh of your butt. So you're actually using your hands, grabbing the bottom of your butt, lifting the butt and pulling it wide. And that will complete our mini movement session today. There is so much to this practice that I, for a long time, haven't known how to share just a mini version of it. So I hope that you got something out of it. But the whole membership and the course will be walking you through these step-by-steps to embody this alignment, not only in our practice on the mat, but when you're off the mat, learning how to hold and empower yourself with this posture when you're standing, sitting, walking, squatting. And it's through this posture that we actually not only reshape our body, but begin to eliminate pain from our body as we find this recalibration inside of what's most primal and natural to us. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share any feedback of something that you got out of this class, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I would be really happy to address those. And I look forward to seeing you in any of my programs. Have a really beautiful day. Thanks for practicing with me.